The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
No! I'm going down to Alphabet Street. I'm gonna crown this girl that I meet. I'm gonna talk so.
Good evening, everybody. It is time for the F word again. This is Cathy in beautiful Minneapolis, actually Chanhassen, Minnesota. Not like the snow, though, on the ground that they have over on the East Coast. I know my friends in Raleigh got dumped on. Oh my gosh, ready for Santa Claus to bring that sleigh? It's all going to be good. Be on his merry way, and I'm not going to rhyme anymore if I can help it, because it just kind of comes by accident sometimes, and it's not very good. But tonight, I'm really excited to have my guests on tonight, and I'm going to get to them in a second, because first, since last week, I lost a really dear friend, and I'm going to try to get through this, because it was really tough. Isaiah Robertson was a friend of mine. I met him at the Super Bowl 4 years ago in Phoenix, which sounds like an F word, but it's a PH, just so you know. 1 second. Sneeze. Maybe not. Okay, no. Oh, okay, never mind. Anyway, so Isaiah Robertson was a dear friend of mine, and talked to him a lot, off and on, over the years. Here's an F word that I think of when I think of him, and that's faith. But also football. Football was a big part of his life. But what happened Thursday night, I was at dinner with a friend, and I saw that Isaiah had sent me a message, and I just kind of glanced at my phone, but, it's rude. I was just getting up and saying goodbye to this friend of mine, and I got in my car and I got home, and it was 7:58 that he sent me a message, and it was 10:59 when I finally replied to him. What I found out, though, was that he had already perished in a car accident since he had sent that message to me. So I had a really hard time with it, but what I want to do is I want to read his obituary to give you a little bit about him. I mean, I think they did a really good job, but I just wanted to just recognize him because he was such an important part of my life, even though I wasn't really in it that much, except for from afar. It's just some people come into your life and leave a mark. Okay. Isaiah Robertson was 69 years old. He died December 6th. He was born August 17th, 1949 in New Orleans, Louisiana, and graduated from Covington Pine View High School in 1967. Oops, 1 second here. Isaiah went on to attend Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where he played football and was named to the Times 1970 All-American team. He graduated in 1971 with a Bachelor's of Science in Business Marketing. Isaiah was selected as the 10th pick in the first round of the NFL draft in 1971 by the Los Angeles Rams, where he played linebacker from 1971 to 1978. He was the 1971 Associated Press Defensive Rookie of the Year and selected to 6 Pro Bowls. He was later traded to the Buffalo Bills, where he played from 79 to 82 before retiring in 83 with a career 25 interceptions and 3 touchdowns. Isaiah was known in football for his combined size, speed, and knack for making game-breaking plays. He was a member of the Greater New Orleans Sports Hall of Fame, the Southern University Hall of Fame, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, the Sugar Bowl Hall of Fame, and the Black College Football Hall of Fame. He served on the board of the NFL Players Association as well as a past president of the Dallas chapter. He was involved in the Special Olympics, coached Little League Baseball, and was on the advisory board of Child Athlete Advocates. Okay, so that's Isaiah's football accomplishments. What is like crazy, how many things I didn't know about, all the Hall of Fame. No wonder he liked talking to me about Hall of Fame Financial. But his greatest work was off the field. Because over the last 29 years, he founded what was called the House of Isaiah. And what that is a faith-based alcohol and drug treatment center. It's in Maybank, Texas. It's just southeast of Dallas. And he's helped over 5,000 young men re-enter society. That work didn't come with the accolades, the fame, and the money that, comes with a football career. But that's what he always considered his greatest accomplishment, is helping these young men get over their addictions, which he had a problem with himself. That's why he wanted to share and help others. Now, his mother and father have both passed on. He's survived by his two children, Isaiah Robertson III and Jade Robertson. His funeral is going to be this Friday in Fort Worth, Texas. And boy, I just, my condolences to his family, all of his friends, the countless people's lives that he's been involved in. My hope is that everybody goes and looks at House of Isaiah. And you know what? Let's see what we can do to continue his legacy and keep moving on. Because you know what? We never know. Like I said, oh my gosh, he sent me a message, and it's killing me that I didn't reply to him right away. But we don't ever know. And because we don't ever know when our time is, when we're, let's just make sure that while we're here, we're making the difference that we want to make. We're touching the lives that we want to touch, letting people be in our lives, and really doing things the right way. And again, too, we always leave people behind that we love and care about. So let's do things, make sure that they're taken care of. Now, this is Isaiah's legacy, the House of Isaiah. But, what are you doing about your legacy? And speaking about that legacy and family, faith, all that good stuff, I'm really excited to have my good friend. And you know what? You're going to be family before you know it. My brother from another mother is what's going to end up happening. But Don Choi, I'm so excited that you're here again tonight.
Hey, Cathy.
Hey.
Glad to be back. Just so you guys know, I quit my job to do this part-time.
One night a week for an hour. It's really good pay. Yep. Really good pay.
Yeah.
Trust me. But then what I want to do real quick is, I've always had like this little portion, Don, that, and then we'll bring our special guest on. Not that you're not special too, but I always had this little portion called the Financial 15. And I think, what would be fitting, F word, especially speaking of funeral and, family, is, what we do in life to prepare for not being here anymore. And you and I have been in the industry for a long time and have heard a lot of stories. But, Don, what would you, if you were to sit down in front of a client, what would be your first thing you would talk to them about once they've got their retirement and everything all set up?
You know what, Cathy? I say the old way was the day that we used to grow up and, we thought 8-tracks were cool. Remember those things?
I do. I have one in my 1964 Buick Electra, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. You know, it was so cool to have 8-track, and I used to have a toy robot that operated, I think it was called like Q2R2. I butchered that toy, but God bless that toy, but I had a toy robot that was playing 8-track, and you press the button and so forth. And here we are in 2018, and who'd ever think that the world has changed because with one push of a button on your cell phone, you can make a lot of stuff happen. So what I say to that, Cathy, is that what we used to think before, it just doesn't hold water for tomorrow. So the point is that today, you live for today, you enjoy today, and the idea, I think, that we used to say, well, you have your work life, you have your home life, and all that's changing. And that's why, Cathy, I'm honored to have a very good, dear friend.
Yes.
Who I consider a family member, a colleague, a mentor, somebody who inspires me when I get down to really get lazy. He gives me a nice virtual kick in the ass. But arguably, maybe the most energetic human being known to mankind to walk this planet.
I'm still feeling his energy from a couple weeks ago.
Oh, he's a natural. But the exciting part is that what's great about having my good friend Tom on the phone today, Tom Truong, who's I can go through his resume here. So he's Mr. Former Hollywood actor, to CFO of a publicly traded insurance company, to a real estate guru full-time, to an investor, to you name it, to a philanthropist, and a guy who gives back to his community, a guy who gives back to, obviously, the Asian American community all across, but more importantly, he's got a phenomenal story. And what's great about his story is that you can take the average human being who thinks, I go to work at 8, I come home at 5, and I've got family. Well, here's a guy that's completely disrupted that whole notion of that. That is the day of the old. Those are the 8-track days. And today, his idea of live, work, and play all in one. He's got an amazing story here. So, Cathy, can I do the pleasure of introducing my good friend Tom Truong here on the line?
Yes. I'm so excited. Tom!
Wow, Don, Choi, what an amazing introduction. And Cathy, thank you very much for having me on your show. It is an honor, it's a pleasure. And Cathy, I still feel your energy from when we first met a couple of weeks ago in Minneapolis. It was amazing.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so listen, I heard your story about Isaiah, your friend Isaiah Robertson. Man, what a guy.
Right.
Just from you describing him and reading his obituary, man, what a man! A guy who gives his life to a sport to become an all-star. Obviously, he's a winner. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made the Hall of Fame. And then to end all off, to invest, say, 29 years of his life building the House of Isaiah.
Yes.
Wow, and making a difference in 5,000 lives. Absolutely incredible. I'm sure he's got lots of friends and lots of people who love him, who's going to miss him, and sounds like you are too. But man, well, what a guy. Thank you for that inspirational story, and I wish he and his family the best for many years to come. So hopefully he's left a major impact for those people that he touched.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
Thank you. Yeah, he was a special man for sure.
All right.
But now, speaking of special men, I can't wait to hear your story.
Yeah.
Tom, I got a question for you here. So we've got Cathy on the line here, and we've got listeners all over the world. And you've got really a story that, for those of you who are listening, this is a good time to get it translated into another language here, because you might need beyond a box of tissues to listen to this story here. But Tom has got an amazing story here, because I was privileged to hear about someone that was very inspirational in his life, his mother. And obviously we all have moms. And Tom, please, you got to do us all justice to share with us the parting words in the story.
Sure. Well, to understand my mom and her parting words, since we're talking about funeral and all, I got to roll back the clock to 1975. April 30th, 1975, I was born in Vietnam and raised in Vietnam for the first 7 years of my life. For those who remember history, April 30th is the day that pretty much the U.S. Embassy pulled out of Saigon, and that's the day when you see the Vietnam footage, Vietnam War footage. You see helicopters taking off. You see people jumping on boats and trying to get out of the country. That was the day. The final day before Saigon fell to North Vietnamese to the communist regime. And so my mom had been trying to get us out of the country for weeks on end, and we just could not find a way out of the country. And until the final hour, she got a tip from somebody who said that you should go to this port to be able to, fight your way through and get on a boat. Well, we did. And my mom left the country with 6 young kids. I was 7 years old then. Yeah, the third youngest of 8.
Oh my God.
My 2, and my mom and dad conveniently used, I think, the war to separate. So my dad didn't leave with us. And my 2 oldest brothers, who were there then 18 and 16, also stayed behind. Being the typical teenage boys, they say, we've been trying to get out for 2 weeks now. We can't get out this time. I'm going to blow it off. I'm staying home with Dad.
Oh, man.
Anyway, as fate have it, we got on the boat, and you got to know my mom's intuition. We got on one boat. It was a military boat, and we shoved away up there, and we got on the boat. My mom says, something doesn't feel right. So we got off the boat, and man, I remember we were livid. But she goes, nope, we got to get off this boat. We got off the boat, we went on to the next boat, and we got on the next boat, and this is how I got onto the second boat, Cathy and Don. It was getting packed, and there were no room left. And so she literally picked me up first, and she gave it to the soldiers, and the soldiers passed me up a rope ladder. They said, Tom, when you get up there, your younger brother and your younger sister's going to come up next, and when the 3 of you are up on that deck, you scream like hell, and you ask for your mom and your rest of your brothers and sisters.
Wow.
And that's what we did.
Oh.
And that's what we did. And that's how we got on the boat. As we pulled out of Saigon, the harbor, the first boat that we were on sank.
Oh, my gosh.
And we saw people
I just had goosebumps over my whole body.
Right? And I had no idea. We were just lucky. So anyhow, we took about a week on the ocean, and we made it to the Philippines, to Manila. And we thought we were done. We thought, okay, we're on safe shores. Let's go to Manila. Well, the Filipino government says, no, you can't. We're not taking any more refugees here. We'll give you food. We'll give you fuel, but you got to keep moving. We finally end up at Guam, a U.S. territory in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. In Guam, I had such a good time. I was a 7-year-old kid. I was missing my dad like hell. But we stayed in a military camp, a U.S. military camp, and day in and day out, we just waited for somebody to sponsor us. We didn't know where we were going, and about 2 months later, our names got called, and a church out of Brookville, Ohio, sponsored my family.
Wow.
And that's how I got here to the U.S. Roll forward the clock to what Don Choi asked me. The single mom raised 6 kids. We left Ohio after 1 year. It was a farming community. And she quickly found out that, in that community, as good of a people as they are, the highest level of education was a high school degree. That everyone who graduated and grew up in that little community grew up to be farmers, and all you needed was a high school degree. And she goes, you know what, I didn't give my entire wealth and fortune behind to seek freedom, an F word,
yes.
Right? In the United States, I want my kids to have an education. And so she desperately wrote to as many people as she could, and we found one family, Vietnamese young couple who was just finishing his residency in medical school. He goes, I have a 2-bedroom apartment here in Brighton, Massachusetts. You have a young baby, and I'll move my baby out of that 2nd bedroom into my wife and my room, and you and 6 kids can stay in the 2nd bedroom and the living room and the dining room.
Oh my God.
And we lived there in Brighton, Mass, in that 2-bedroom apartment with 9 people for 2 years. Yeah, what a special man. And we love his family. I mean, and the church. The church that sponsored us was also amazingly special to our family. Yeah, so two years goes by, and he finished his residency. He made enough money. He moved out, and we expanded from a 1-bedroom living room and dining room to 2 bedrooms, living room and dining room.
Oh, wow.
And we stayed there for the next 5 years until we bought our first home.
And okay, buying your first home. So how old were you then? I mean, this is your mom is doing this without your dad.
Yeah, single mom, without my dad, without learning English, Cathy, not.
Oh my gosh.
And she made sure that we kept our heritage. And I still speak Vietnamese fluently today. I'm bilingual now. Thank goodness my mom made sure that we didn't lose our heritage. But, she worked 2 full-time jobs. I'm talking cleaning toilets. I'm talking do whatever it takes to make a living and put 6 kids through college.
What?
Right?
Wow.
It's incredible.
Very incredible.
And you roll forward the clock to what Don said is on her deathbed about 6 years ago.
Oh,
She said, Tom, there's one thing I want you to do for me. Mm-hmm. I said, what is that, Mom? She goes, if you can just go on, do what you're doing, but affect 100 person's life. If on your deathbed, 100 people come out and say, you've affected their life in one way or another, then I would be very proud of you. And, that's my goal. And if I can help 100 people, and those 100 people go ahead and duplicate themselves and help another 100, Cathy, well, guess what? We've affected 10,000 lives, right?
Right.
And that's what I aspire to every day.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, you're right, Don. I didn't bring any Kleenex in here. Using the sleeves. Wow. What a wonderful woman. And
she was an amazing woman, yeah.
What an amazing woman. She didn't learn English. I'm sure she picked up some of the good words along the way.
She picked up a lot of good F words, yes.
Yes.
Well, one of the F words that she taught me was in Vietnamese, translated to English, is financial freedom.
You know what? See, love that. Oh my gosh.
Right?
God bless her. And that's Don, you know me. For me to be speechless, that's like you need to talk amongst yourselves. I gotta compose.
I hear you. I still get choked up every time I tell that story. But it comes from the heart, and it really comes from deep down inside of a woman who really gave of herself. And what I don't share is also that she's and this is where I get my philanthropic attitude,
which sounds like
back to my community.
And it sounds like an F word too, so I love philanthropy.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. I figure as F shows, I'm going to try to help you as much as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But this is a woman that would go out and collect cans to return for 5 cents here and 5 cents there, and after she collected all of that, guys, what did she do?
She donated.
She didn't go, she didn't buy anything for herself. She sent the money back to Vietnam, and her thing was to make sure that kids can see. And so she sent money back to make sure the kids got eyeglasses, that they got eye exams, that they can see the world and see everything around them, because without sight, it's going to inhibit their learning. And that's what my mom did. And to this day, I still give back to communities in Vietnam that do that.
Wow. That's amazing. And I'll bet you anything. With her 2 full-time jobs, she didn't make as much as a lot of people make on part-time jobs now.
Minimum wage. It was assembly lines here in Massachusetts. We had Hewlett Packard. We had all these high-tech companies, but she wasn't the engineer or the not even the technician level. She was on the assembly line, and that's what she did. 2 full-time jobs, I remember. All of us, as soon as we figured out that we could make a buck, we got to the streets and we started adding to help the family make ends meet.
What was your first job? What was your first job?
Yeah, so my first official job was a newspaper boy.
I love it.
Delivering the Boston Globe newspaper here in Boston. And I lied, Cathy, about my age, because you have to be 14 years old to get a paper delivery job. I was only 11.
Oh my gosh!
You know me. I'm short as it is already. So here I am, a 11-year-old short Asian boy walking into an office, and I'm like trying to I like to be told to look as tall as possible.
Yeah, that's so cute. How could they not?
Get a job as a 14-year-old, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
what did you? I mean,
delivering newspapers.
They were like, "Hey, come on in." That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
But, I outworked everybody, Cathy. I mean, 11, man. I delivered my papers in the morning, right? And then I not only took one route in the morning, I took 2 routes, and I commissioned my younger brother and my younger sister, who were like 10 and 8 at the time, and they went out and they helped me deliver newspapers. Rain, shine, slow, sleet, ice, whatever, we were delivering papers.
Wow.
And then when we got a hung of it, I got an afternoon route. For anyone on the show who remembers getting papers in the morning and getting papers in the afternoon, I got 2 paper routes.
You were enterprising back then. That's crazy. I mean, just the fact. I mean, I lied about my age to get drinks. I was working so I could buy the drinks, but I had to lie about my age to get into the bar to buy the drinks.
Right.
Because I was.
Don, what was your first job?
My first job was really working at my parents' car wash, scrubbing cars, because that was it was a mandate to come home and be part of the Choi family.
Love it.
And
working at the car wash.
Yeah,
singing.
And that's back in the 80s, and I was probably 10 years old, and really it was my duty to obviously help my family in any way I can to support the family.
How big is your family?
My family is, I've got one older sister who's 12 years older than me, but I've got a lot of cousins because my father has 8 other siblings and my mother has 5 other siblings. A lot of them are now older and have passed on since, but I certainly understand the dynamics of coming from a big family. And I happen to be, if you want to call it luckier, in being the younger one of all the cousins, so to speak. And certainly the benefit of being the youngest is that, people evolve and families evolve over time. And as a result of that, life gets, the families get more experienced, they become smarter, wiser. So the younger generation always benefits, just like our kids. They're in a better situation than we are, for sure. So, I consider myself to be lucky in that capacity.
Oh, me too.
Right.
Me too.
Yeah.
So I was 14 when I started my first job. I mean, I babysat before then, but I lied about my age and said I was 15 when I was really 14. But it was a summer. I was turning 15, and my birthday, just in case you want to write this down, everybody, is July 2nd. But, so I started in June, so I'm like, yeah, I'm 15. And I cleaned offices at Cargill, and I made $5 an hour.
Awesome.
Right?
For a 14-year-old, $5 an hour is awesome, right?
Well, right? I mean, this is in the 70s. $5 an hour. I mean, that was like crazy. And
that's making coin.
I wanted, my parents, we were never well off, but we never wanted for anything except for I was a girl, so I always wanted more. And I wanted the clothing that I wanted. My parents did that was necessary, I went to one of those schools, Lake Minnetonka. Everybody had, the rich families. They lived on the lake. I mean, we didn't live on the lake. We weren't, we were middle class. But so my parents were like, "No, you want it, you got to work for it." So I did. And I wish, if I knew then what I know now, I would have taken some of that money and saved it. But no, I spent it on clothes.
What else would a teenage girl do at that age?
At
that time? Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So I was happy. So.
You want to talk about family business? So my mom, after a while, she opened up the first Asian supermarket in China, Vietnamese supermarket in Chinatown.
What? Wow.
Yeah. And so that was in 1980, I'm going to say about 1980, 80 to 81, about 6 years after we came here to the U.S. And you know how she did it? She went around the neighborhood and she borrowed $500 here, $100 there, $300 there, whatever it was. She just borrowed as much money as possible, and she told people, "Listen, we don't have a place to buy Vietnamese food, and I promise you, every Thursday or every Friday, I will drive to New York with my kids, and I will buy the food that we like to eat, and I will bring it back to the store, and I will have our first Vietnamese supermarket."
Wow.
And that's what I did, guys. I remember, I wasn't old enough to drive then, but I had to go with my older brother, Tim, who was old enough to drive with my mom to Chinatown, New York, to buy the food, to bring it back in.
How far away was that?
Every single week. It's about 4 hours.
Oh,
from
wow.
where we drove. 4 hours there, 4 hours back. We left on a Thursday and a Friday. We had to make it back by Saturday because that's when most people came in to shop.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And after school, that was my job. Like Don said, right? You're expected to be there. And so, you know, after high school, all of us have to go in and work the store and then ring the register and put some product on the shelf and stuff. But it's a real cool story, and then we'll move on to another topic. So there were gangs, Chinese gangs, and Vietnamese gangs that started coming to Chinatown when the Vietnamese population started to grow. The Vietnamese population started fighting with the Chinese population, gangsters, I mean. And I remember I didn't quite understand what gangs were, right? But I remember one instance where they came in and they asked for protection money. And it was my older brother who was working it, and he had no idea what to do, so he basically opened up the cash register and gave them protection money. And at the end of the night, my mom said, "Where's the money? What happened?" And Tim explained what happened, and my mom goes, "Don't you ever, ever, ever do that again. Next time that happens, you let me know." I guess she was in the basement or she was downstairs doing something else when they came in. So guess what? She couldn't wait for them to come back. So guess what? Next week, same time, they came back. And my mom was ready for them. They would come in, they'd ask for the money. And my mom, if you met her, she's 4 feet 9 inches.
No. Oh my gosh.
4 feet 9 inches.
I wish I could have met her. Oh my gosh.
Small little woman, and these big Vietnamese gangsters. She'd go right up to them and she'd like point her finger at them and started lecturing them and says, "What's your name? What's your last name? What village are you from? I'm gonna find your parents back at home. I'm gonna tell them what you're doing."
I love
Tail
it.
between the legs, they left and never came back.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That's my gosh.
Oh boy!
I see where
I thought you'd enjoy that. I said, if she's not as scared of those guys, I ain't scared of nobody.
No.
She'd always tell my younger sister, who's about the same height, about 4'9", 4'10", my younger sister Beth. She'd say to her, "Beth, you might be 4'10", 4'9", inside your height, but inside you are 7 feet tall. You always remember that."
Wow.
Yeah.
So where are your siblings now? Are they all in the same area?
So the final 2 brothers finally made it over. So all 8 kids are here now in the U.S. 3 are here in Massachusetts, Florida, Texas, Alabama, California.
Wow.
All spread across the U.S. Yeah.
He's got grandbabies all over the place.
It does. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I need to ask, your father, whatever became of him?
My father lived until he was 79. About 8 years after we left Vietnam, we were able to sponsor him here legally. And instead of having to escape through the boats, he made here legally.
Uh-huh.
And he came here and he lasted no more than 6 months.
Oh my.
He hated it here. He hated the cold. By then, my brothers and sisters had grown up. They'd had gone to work already, and he hated the fact, Cathy, they had to make an appointment to go see his kids. right? But he had to hop on a plane or drive 4 hours to get to New York or somewhere to see his kids. He goes, back in Vietnam, I walk out my front door. I go right to my cousin's house. I go left to my sister's house. I go behind in the back alley, and I see my grandkids from the family who's still stuck around Vietnam. And he goes, I can't live this life here in the U.S. I got to make appointments with you guys. Who the heck makes appointments to see their kids? So he went home. Wow. He went back home to Vietnam. And I saw him before he died, about a couple of years before he died. And, he just lived his life out in Vietnam. So, my role model was my mom.
That was what he was used to. Do you know what? You want to know something? So my oldest son, I have to have you meet him. My oldest son, Keaton, he's 29. Yeah. Last year, he came back, but he and his girlfriend, so they live in Brooklyn. But he and his girlfriend, he's an architect, he found out that he could work remotely. So they went and traveled the world for a year. And they spent 3 months in Vietnam. And
hopefully they loved
3 months. It. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, they were oh my gosh, they were all over. They were Vietnam, Laos, Singapore, Thailand. My gosh, I can't even remember all the places I went, but what an experience. But Vietnam, my son said, and I just remember the pictures, and just the colors are so much prettier. Just the water and the rock formations in the water. I think, isn't that where they did the Kong movie?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, all the way north in Vietnam. Correct. Yes. That's where they did the Kong movie. Yep.
I mean, so they're out kayaking.
Halong Bay is what it's called. Halong Bay.
They're out kayaking in there, and I mean, they would love to go back. They loved it there. And and my son is 6'5", so he stood out a little bit.
He's a popular tourist in Vietnam, I bet.
Oh yes, I mean, and his girlfriend is absolutely beautiful. All the kids just gravitated to them. But and every animal, I mean, they just, she's like this little Snow White where all the animals come to her. But I mean, the pictures are just absolutely amazing. But he goes, Mom, you look at the museums and everything, and you see it from their side, not what you see from the American side. And he said, it's amazing to see how history is so different when you go to the other country.
That's right.
Hey, Cathy.
Yeah.
I've got a great F word that kind of sums up a little bit about Tom today.
What's that?
The word forward. And I think that's really an adjective to forward, and forward as in forward thinking.
Yes.
Because Tom is always, if people that know Tom, they always know that Tom is always thinking ahead, and he's a forward thinker. He won't settle for the status quo. He wants better, not just for himself, but for all of us.
For at least 100 people.
Without a doubt, baby. He makes the world a better place.
So you can at least say for sure 90. You've got 98 left because you've got Don and me. So we know that for a fact.
For sure is another F word there.
That's right. That's right. It's kind of a little minute. It's like a Minnesotan for sure. That's
right.
But Tom, why don't you share with everybody here a little bit about, obviously you spent your career here most recently in real estate, and where the industry is here. And speaking of forward thinking here, how have you made the move in the real estate space for all those people? Everybody owns some sort of piece of real estate or is thinking about owning some piece of real estate, but the industry is changing so much. So maybe perhaps you can share with all the listeners and ourselves here a little bit about how you are forward thinking in the real estate space.
Well, and I'm gonna jump in here too, because Tom, tell how you told me the story when I sat down with you, how you got to where you are now, because I think people like to hear that too. What your forward thinking back then brought you to the forward thinking that you have right now. Sorry, Don, had to change it up a little bit.
Okay, all right. Boy, let's see. Where do I start? So I guess I'll just focus on my real estate experience in general. But I just want the audience to understand my formal work So my formal training is economics and management at UMass Amherst. I did my undergraduate in economics and I had a minor in management. So for 15 years after I graduated college, I worked for one company. It was an insurance brokerage world company called Arthur J. Gallagher. Both of you guys are in that space, so you probably know.
Mm-hmm.
When I started with Arthur J. Gallagher, basically I started on the property and casualty side, and worked literally from the mailroom to the accounting office, all the way up to 9 years later. Sat in the corner office as the chief financial officer.
Amazing.
When I started with,
I love that. You are your mother's son. You are your mother's son. Wow.
When I started with the company, Cathy, Arthur J. Gallagher was the 13th largest in the United States of America. And when I ended as the one of 5 chief financial officers for the company, area chief financial officer companies, this publicly traded company, the ticker symbol is AJG, and you can still find it on the New York Stock Exchange. We were the 3rd largest in the world.
Wow.
And as far as I know, we are still the 3rd largest in the world.
Oh my God.
And it's funny I say we. Anyhow, that was a good run for me. That was a 14-year run.
Wow.
But I got burnt out in that business because what I ended up doing was I was very good at crunching numbers, doing mergers and acquisitions, and helping the company grow and the stockholder increase their value. And what I did was at the end was let people go. Back then, if you remember, about 15 years ago or so, right-sizing, downsizing, layoffs, duplication, duplicity, economies of scale were the catchwords, and I let people go. My job was to take over companies and then let go for a minimum of 20% of the people, no matter what. We didn't need 2 accountants. We didn't need 2 receptionists. We didn't need 2 clerks to open up the mail, so on and so forth. And I remember the one day when I had to let go a guy who gave his career to this small real estate agency. Small insurance agency. And his tears are hitting the wood desk that he sat behind, where he was the treasurer or accountant for the small insurance brokerage firm. And he goes, "Tom, what did I do wrong? I gave my life to this company. I gave my life to the owner. And now you're sitting here letting me know that my job is obsolete. That the best you can give me and my family with 2 kids in college is a 2-month severance pay." That was the night I went home to Marissa, my wife, and I said, "Honey, I can't do it anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I cannot ruin lives. I've got to make a move in my career." And that's the day I decided I'm going to do something else. I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and I'm going to help people. This is way before my mom told me to help people before she passed away. But I'm going to help people. I'm going to build careers. I'm going to build lives. I'm going to build companies. I'm not going to break them down and sell them in pieces, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I tried a whole bunch of things, and laundromat, dry cleaning, bagel shops, country clubs, restaurants, lost a bunch of money, but what I made most in is always real estate.
Okay.
Flipping houses.
That's a big F word, flipping. I love it.
Flipping houses, that's right.
Flipping houses. We should have a show on flipping. Yeah, right. Exactly. Good one.
And then, I did that for a while, and I also became a real estate agent and started my real estate career about 15 years ago, selling houses while flipping houses, okay?
Okay.
And talk about, to answer Don's question about forward thinking. Do you remember Airbnb?
Yes.
So Airbnb is this cloud-based business that came along and took the hotel industry by storm.
Completely.
Right? Completely. Did you know that Airbnb now is the largest, on every given night around the world, they have the most hotel rooms, or most rooms for rent, than Marriott, Hilton, and everything combined?
Get out. No, I didn't.
Yeah. I looked it up. And they don't own one hotel room, do they?
No.
right? Talk about a company's forward thinking. So
oh my gosh! And the people that own the places. Oh,
yeah,
it didn't even dawn on me. I'm thinking of it on this side of it, like, okay, I'm going to have an extra room. I'm going to Airbnb that.
Right. I remember, Don and Cathy, I did that at the beginning. I heard about Airbnb. I think I read about it in a Fortune magazine or Success magazine or something. And I said, this is pretty interesting. I have a spare bedroom. I have a spare apartment. I have this. Let me try this thing. I remember when I first signed on to Airbnb, which is probably 13 years ago. Okay, to get on the platform, you had to have references and recommendations from people. And would you believe my best friend, my wife, my family, all said, no, I'm not writing a recommendation for you.
What?
Because that's crazy. You're going to have some stranger sleep in your bed on those sheets in your same house. Are you crazy? Have you gone off the deep end?
Yeah.
Well,
was it a she, Tom?
What's that?
Was it a she?
That's right. No, our first guest was a very nice gentleman who loved being in our home, and he was there for, I believe, 2 weeks. And I can tell you, in 2 weeks, it was hell for my wife and my kids, because I shared one room with them. I had an extra room, and I had to try it, right? And it worked. And we made. Well, I'll tell you what, they didn't complain when I took that money and took them on vacation, on an extra vacation that they never had for the year.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
You just sold me, because my youngest son is moving out at the end of this month. I'm going to Airbnb my extra room.
So that's the forward thinking that I have. And today, and for the past 13, 14 years, we've Airbnb'd a lot of our rental property. We don't share rooms anymore. I did that at the beginning just to test the market.
Right.
But now I buy property and I put it all on Airbnb. Well, half of my inventory is on Airbnb. The other half is traditional rentals. But so that's part of the forward thinking, right? This cloud-based company that leverages technology to connect the consumer with the supplier, with the end user, and they get a commission in the middle, right? And they're killing it. And so, with my real estate business, as it folds in, is, I'm a real estate guy. When you think about a real estate salesperson or a realtor, what companies do you think of, Cathy?
Remax.
Remax, right? Keller
Williams.
Century 21, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Coldwell Banker, you name it, and all these real estate offices all across America. What the one thing they have in common is bricks and mortar. Right. They still have offices, okay? And from my perspective is how much of your audience do you think goes inside a real estate office to buy a house?
I was just thinking that, because it was like, if I'm sitting in your office, I'm not out looking at houses, and that's what I want to be doing.
Yeah, and where do consumers... Right, and so where do consumers first search for houses? Inside a real estate office, or where?
They look on
the internet. Oh, yeah. Right. But real estate agents, if you're a real estate agent and you're listening in today, I'm going to ask you, what is the commission split that you get, Cathy? And generally speaking, they're getting from 50 to 60 to 70, and if they're really a heavy hitter, they're getting 80 or 90%. Well, the other 50, 40, 30, 20% that they pay to the company has to go towards what? Paying the overhead. Right. The bricks and mortar, the rent, the heat, the electricity, the insurance, the coffee, the Wi-Fi, the copy machine, right. The cleaning people, right? Yeah. And then what's left over after they pay all those overhead becomes the profits for the franchise owner or for the real estate owner. Okay.
Wow, plus your managing people.
That's right. So the company that Don and I work for basically is disrupting the entire real estate space, where we take a cloud-based brokerage and we remove the bricks and mortar, and and we basically take more of the commissions that were supposed to go to the owners of the agencies, and we put them back in our pockets. And this company is now exploding across North America.
Wow.
Right?
It just makes sense.
And that's forward thinking.
I mean, just thinking, when you're definitely forward thinking into the Airbnb. Now with this, and while I'm thinking about it, I actually wrote this down. I have somebody that I met so I kind of like football. So, I like the Vikings.
Sure.
Didn't like them last night. But one of the former Vikings lives down in Texas. He's in Austin. But he's wanting to get into the Airbnb business. I said, you know what? I'm going to help you. I don't know how, but I'm going to find a way to help you. And I think, why? I said that to him.
Yeah, well, if you need help with that, you put him in touch with me and Don, and we can help him.
Exactly.
We've got a world of experience with him.
And he's got a law degree. Bright guy, young, definitely.
Awesome.
He's forward thinking too. So I think we need to get him on a call this week for sure. But that's okay. So now, tell me more about this, because there's people I know several realtors out there that do very well for themselves. But and that's what you were doing, right? You were doing really well.
I did very well for myself. I still do. Yeah, yes. I sell quite a bit of houses here in the Boston market. The average price point is about $400,000 a house. Okay, for the mid market homes. And so, yeah, Cathy. I sell about 3 of those houses a year, a month. I average about 36 to 40 deals a year. And, I've been doing that forever. I've been doing that for at least 9 straight years at that rate, about $15 million in sales. I help buyers and sellers sell houses, about 36 to 40 a year. And what happens is with this new technology, guess what? My buyers and my sellers actually are even better off with the newest, latest technology that we have with this cloud-based brokerage, because we are able to consolidate data. We're able to distribute data much faster and more efficient. So think about if you were a seller and you had a home and you needed to market it. Would you want to go to a local real estate agency that only had access to the local inventory and the local agents in your area, or would you like to get involved with a company like ours that is an international company that has access to all of the multiple listing services? I'm getting into some technical terms here, but we have the ability to market your property not just in your local Minnesota market, but we have the ability to market it in all across the United States and Canada, all 50 states and 3 Canadian provinces.
Wow.
And that's the power of who we are as a forward-thinking company, where we explode your exposure for selling your house.
So, and I know we only have a few more minutes left, but so by doing that, by getting that out there, for example, I want to sell my townhouse. So how would I would normally, like in the normal way, I would call a realtor.
Yep, you call a realtor. We're all realtors.
Yep.
So I would put you in touch with a realtor who's in your neck of the woods, who works for our company.
Uh-huh.
We have over 15,000 realtors across the United States and Canada. I'm sure I can find a very good one that's close to you. And that realtor would come in and basically help you get your property ready, and then get it listed and get it marketed internationally, literally internationally, so that the buyers around the world knows about your home.
Right, so not just the people in Minnesota are going to know about my place. And if you've got, honestly, athletes that go from, they have a home in one state and then they want another one when they're playing. This sounds much more user-friendly.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's pretty complicated, but if we had more time, we can sort of answer a lot more questions for you, but I know we're coming up the hour here.
Well, here's what I want to do. I would like to invite you back because I know a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions. And what I want to do is I want to maybe set it up for next week that we can have them call in.
Okay.
And if you're available next Tuesday, I would love to have you both back.
Okay. I think we can make that happen, Don. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Freaking-lutely.
Freakin's a good F word. So that's what we're gonna freaking do then. So I've got so many people that I want to make sure that I have them call in, and I'm gonna talk to our wonderful powers that be out there in Boston. You know what I need to do is I need to come out there and we do the show live from Boston. All of us. Cool. Wouldn't that be fun? I think that would be.
It was. If you come out this time of year, it's going to be freezing.
Freezing. Well, guess what? Like, that scares me.
That's right. Actually, I forgot about that. You're used to the cold there. Yeah.
I don't think it's ever a used to. It's just a have to deal with. That's where it's like, I think it's pretty bad when yesterday it was like 30 degrees. And I went, it's not so bad. But you know what I realized? It's not so bad because I was having a hot flash. There's another F-word, flash.
Yes. There you go.
I went, okay, then I don't mind it so much if I just step outside when I'm in the middle of one of those. It's not that bad then. But, God, this is, I'm just really, I'm just really honored to have you two in my life. I'm just really excited. I had like I said, it was Friday was tough finding out about my friend's death, and it kind of it makes you really think. You want to keep the people that you want in your life, that you want to be making a difference. You want to help 100 people. My gosh, it's so important to be doing what we want with the time that we have. And the time that I've had right now with the two of you for the past hour, I'm very grateful I got it. So,
well, I thank you for having me, Don. Thanks for inviting me. Well.
All right,
I think our family and our friends have expanded over to Minnesota.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. We'll talk to you next week. And thank you for joining us on the F Word. Good night.
Good night.